We're celebrating Battlestar Galactica with the fans and some cast members. Look, it's Sheba.
Hi. Am I late?
No, not at all. It's Ann Lockhart.
Traffic was terrible, and my husband took the Viper this morning. I had to drive the Volvo.
Hey, Battlestar Galactica fans, they gave a convention, and we were there. Buzzing with top fantasy artist Michael Whalen. And Tim Burton's Disney Doodles hit the big screen in a big way.
Hello, Buzzers. This time from Los Angeles on Sci-Fi Buzz. I'm Mike Jarrett. Welcome to the show. This time we're at the 15th anniversary celebration of Battlestar Galactica. Now, don't change the channel if you weren't a fan of that show. I mean, after all, the program did have some stupid science on it at times, and it was a Western disguised as sci-fi, but even the Cylons would be amazed at the popularity of this program after all these years.
Hundreds of die-hard Battlestar Galactica fans from across the Western Hemisphere were on hand to celebrate the 15th yarn reunion of the short-lived sci-fi series. This Galactafest offered a once-in-a-lifetime chance to reminisce with the show's colorful cast.
I don't understand some of the fanaticism of the fans of science fiction. It is a bit beyond me.
All the way to California to see Battlestar Galactica, the cast, the crew. Why wouldn't anyone? It's the greatest show that there ever was.
It was one of the first shows that employed Star Wars type effects, and so it sort of captivated my interest that way.
Even though it was a respectable 18th in the ratings, Galactica got the axe after one network season. Most attribute the cancellation to a budget that had swollen to over $1 million an episode.
Every show I've ever seen that made 23 episodes disappears into the annals of history. So what was it about Battlestar that really seemed to titillate people's imaginations? I just think it had some special quality to it that really tapped into the journey of mankind.
It also tapped into some viewers' sense of ambition, according to cast member Ann Lockhart.
I met a lady last night here at the convention who said to me that because of Sheba and what Sheba did, I had inspired her to get her pilot's license and learn how to fly planes, which I thought was really cool.
A side note for trivia buffs, Ann and her mom, June Lockhart, of Lost in Space fame, are the only mother-daughter acting team to each star in their own sci-fi series. Back to the topic at hand, it didn't take long to see this Galacticon was clearly not just for fans. As Terry Carter, Galactica's Colonel Ty, led on, it was a reunion of sorts for cast and crew as well.
Well, I can't tell you what a joy it is to see people that I haven't seen in 15 years and haven't been in touch with, and to see how they've matured. It's like coming back to family.
And when Galactica family members like costume designer Jean-Pierre Dorliac were privy to great stories, they passed them on to us.
I only found out yesterday from Ann Lockhart, who's been a very close friend of mine even before we did the show, that these little things that we used to put on the uniforms were nothing but Marks-a-Lot sprayed gold. So they used to joke that when they ran out of laser beams that they'd write dirty notes to the enemies with these things. And I think that's a wonderful story.
Some of the Galacta chat among fans and cast members revolved around the defense of a show that naysayers always wrote off as just another Star Wars ripoff.
I mean, the idea that it was a ripoff of Star Wars is like saying High Noon was a ripoff of a Western that went before. I mean, it was the same genre, had many of the same, but it was in outer space, so yeah, we ripped that off. And it had Lauren Green, so we ripped off Bonanza.
Cynicism aside, Mr. Benedict, the prevailing tone here was definitely one of admiration. After all, this is a show that has a devoted following on both sides of the Atlantic.
There are even three friends from England here. Can you imagine that? Now, why did you come here? What do you love about Battlestar?
Well, it's got something for everybody. It's got action if you want action, and if you want a story, there's a good story there as well.
Yeah, how about you?
I like it because of the adventure, the going out and finding something new.
And how about you?
I like the characterization.
Whether you're a fan of Battlestar Galactica or not, it's obvious to us this is one sci-fi show that won't be going the way of the dinosaur anytime soon.
Well, you're going to love this. Starting on November the 13th, right here on the Sci-Fi Channel, we're going to have a Battlestar Galactica marathon. So in other words, from Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning on the 13th for 24 hours to Sunday at 7 o'clock in the morning on the Sci-Fi Channel, it's nothing but Battlestar Galactica. I'm going to tell you, you're going to wish those Cylons had finished off the humans in the first place.
Put that man in shackles!
We are going to take care of you.
Yes, get him, take him.
After this disconnect, Tim Burton's doodles hit the big time. And commentator Harlan Ellison.
Just as Battlestar Galactica has devoted fans after all these years, so does the animation process of stop motion. Of course, a man synonymous with stop motion is Ray Harryhausen, who you've met on Sci-Fi Buzz. Well, one of his biggest fans is Tim Burton, the Batman director. And now Tim has paid stop motion the ultimate compliment. His latest movie is the talk of the animation world.
What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air.
In 1979, Tim Burton was a Disney cartoon animator who spent spare moments doodling ideas at his desk.
There's children throwing snowballs instead of throwing heads. They're busy building toys and absolutely no one's dead.
Over a decade later, the man who went on to direct Hollywood hits like Beetlejuice and Batman brings his doodled dreams to life in the animated musical The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's actually probably better that it happened now than originally, because I think it was the resources and the people and the group of artists that were kind of got together on this. I think it's better. It turned out better now than if it probably had been done back then, you know.
As a kid growing up in Southern California, Burton admired the weird reality conjured up by the stop-motion animation technique. He was determined to use stop motion in Nightmare, despite the fact that most contemporary films like Jurassic Park use cutting-edge computer techniques.
There's not that much new technology in this per se. I mean, it looks great, but really what it comes down to, the reason it looks so great and it works so great, it has less to do with technology than this great group of artists, because it's really that same simple technique of a person moving a little puppet frame by frame.
This is a thing called a present. The whole thing starts with a box.
A box? Is it steel? Are there locks? Is it filled with a box?
A box? How did I fill a box?
Nightmare Before Christmas tells the tale of Jack Skellington, Halloween's Pumpkin King, who becomes obsessed with taking over Santa's turf as well. Though Burton conceived the film and served as a producer, the director's chair was filled by Henry Selick, a fellow animator from Burton's Disney days. It was Selick and his crew who spent 2 years painstakingly crafting the film frame by frame.
We really spent a lot of time perfecting the look of this, not just with lights, but with paint and texture. And then one of the curses of stop motion from the past is the cameras, they never moved. You couldn't move them because they didn't have computerized motion control. In every shot that we could, we found a way to move a camera, special rigs, so there's a fluidity and a freedom of camera motion that you just aren't used to.
The $20 million film required the creation of dozens of puppets, each with a unique look and personality. Bonita DiCarlo, who coordinated the casting and finishing of the puppets, was intent on staying true to Burton's vision.
Whenever you take a graphic design and make it into a three-dimensional object, things have to change. Certain things have to change. We didn't want to go too far away from those original designs because, of course, they were wonderful. And we managed to stay very close on this project. Everything has a very Burton feel to it.
Tim Burton possesses a dark side that usually sets the tone of his films, and Nightmare Before Christmas is no exception. When we asked for the source of his love of the macabre, the filmmaker simply said,
just a good, clean, healthy upbringing.
Hey Mike, has Harlan Ellison really been fired?
Well, he maybe should have been, but he hasn't yet. But those cigar-chewing executives, you know, at the Sci-Fi Channel, they still haven't decided his fate yet. But they never said we couldn't run the best of Harlan, so here's an Ellison encore.
Eternity, Ethelred II, ethics, ethnic, ethnology, ethnocentricity. Now, get this. The dictionary says ethnocentrism is a belief in the superiority of one's own ethnic group. And this is good, under xenophobia, be with you in a moment here, xenophobe is a person unduly fearful or contemptuous of strangers or foreigners, especially as reflected in his political or cultural views. Now, I know there may be a few of you out there saying, why is this idiot reading to me from the dictionary? That's because I want you to understand the nature of what it is I'm going to say to you, because I'm going to use the words xenophobia and ethnocentrism. And I'm going to use them in reference to American publishers, particularly American publishers of science fiction, who publish mostly American science fiction writers. Occasionally they publish British science fiction writers, but basically they publish Americans. And they have an absolute aversion to translating from other languages the famous and the eloquent and the excellent writers who write science fiction and many other things into English so that you can read them. They would much prefer to sell you endless Star Trek novels, endless trilogies about furry, fuzzy creatures on mythical quests for rings or swords or rectal suppositories or whatever it is those fuzzy little things are always going for. But they won't bother to translate for you the writings of some famous writers in Japan or in France or in Sweden. I mean, even Australia is as alien to them as the dark side of the moon. Now, I have a small list here, and I brought it with me so that I could read you some names, so that if you happen to see any of these people's names, you'll look them up. Because American publishers are too busy publishing trash to really take any chances. It's a market-driven genre, and they want more stories that have fantasy trilogy material, and they don't really want to go for anything dangerous. I would recommend to you, for instance, the great Swedish fantasist Sven Krister Svan. In Sweden, there's also the work of Bertil Martinson. There are two great fantasists who work you don't even know because they don't bother to translate them into English. In Argentina, Luisa Valenzuela, although she has been translated into English, you can read her and you can find her stuff if you want. In Japan, if you haven't read the work of Kobo Abe, work like The Boxman and Inter Ice Age 4, you just haven't read. And in Australia, there are people like Terry Dowling and Lucy Sussex, Sean McMullen, Peter Carey, Russell Blackford, Greg Egan, Leanne Fromm. These are just a few of the names that you're not getting because of the ethnocentricity of American publishers. And when they award the Nobel Prize, and they give it to some writer you've never heard of from Zamboanga or New Zealand, you say, who the hell ever heard of him? Well, the rest of the world has heard of him, or her, but you haven't, because you're being denied all of these great works, because all they want is to give you jello. They want to give you mush. You got to resist that. You got to say, I don't want any more mush. No more dopey trilogies about fuzzy-footed creatures.
Top fantasy artist Michael Wayland is next, along with our Buzz Best Bets. For this week's Buzz Best Bets, we pay tribute to Ray Bradbury's favorite holiday, Halloween. We visited the multi-talented author at his memento-filled home in L.A. recently. While in his cluttered workroom, we spotted a pumpkin tree that Bradbury had painted for his children years ago. It was this artwork that inspired his popular children's novella, The Halloween Tree. Now, more than 2 decades after the book was first published, Hanna-Barbera brings the Ghost and Goblin's tale to television.
I've seen all the backgrounds. They're gorgeous, absolutely. And I've done the screenplay myself. And I think it's going to be a beautiful film. Whole history of Halloween, all the death festivals from Greece and Rome and the Druids on up through time to modern day America, trick and treat, and down into Mexico, the Day of the Dead.
Broomsticks for witches!
For you! With Leonard Nimoy providing the eerie voice of Mr. Moundshroud and Bradbury himself doing the narration, The Halloween Tree has all the makings of a perennial holiday classic. You can catch The Halloween Tree on October 30th at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS. That's this week's Buzz Best Bet.
You know, just because we're at the Battlestar Galactica convention this time for Sci-Fi Buzz doesn't mean that the Buzz board line is not open. Please give us a call.
My name is Kenneth Stiller of Oakland, California, and I would like to recommend a new MGM UA home video release on Laserdisc. It's the double feature set of Thunderbirds Are Go and Thunderbird 6. These original movies are based on the popular British TV series. They are presented in a deluxe letterbox format to show off these widescreen Technoscope prints and contain both original theatrical trailers. This is the ultimate home video for all Thunderbirds fans and it has my highest recommendation.
Michael Whalen is among the most popular science fiction and fantasy artists in the world. He's won 13 of the prestigious Hugo Awards, more than any other artist. And top genre authors like Anne McCaffrey and Stephen King clamor for his services. We've been trying to hook up with the very busy Mr. Whalen for quite some time. The opportunity to chat finally presented itself in Southern California recently.
Why do you think you're so respected as an artist?
In the illustration field, it's because I think I'm dedicated to reading the book and doing an illustration, not doing a mere decoration of a book. And there's a difference.
Whalen's art has been fronting the covers of novels, anthologies, and magazines since he burst onto the art scene in the mid-'70s.
I had a feeling of inner confidence that I'd be happy with where my work was going to take me in life. But I remember making the decision when I was in college to move away from the pre-med direction I was going in and go full scale into art and saying, well, I'll have to accept the financial consequences. I'll make the best shot I can out of it. And if I do well, fine, but I'll make my standard of living suit my goal rather than the other way around.
After the awards started coming in, did that change your professional life?
No, it started changing when publishers realized that my paintings sold books because it increased my standard of living dramatically. I was able to raise my prices up pretty much up to the ceiling, and so that helped a lot. And there's freedom with that, freedom to pick and choose projects that you want to do. Winning awards gives me the power to have that freedom. Then I'm glad I'm winning them because I enjoy having that freedom.
Whalen's commitment to maintaining artistic integrity can be viewed firsthand in his new book, The Art of Michael Whalen. It's filled with little-seen personal art, sketches, and color studies, as well as more recognizable illustrations.
Why is your new book, The Art of Michael Whalen, so important to you?
Most of my other work, my illustration, is based on literature of some sort, and I'm trying to make a picture out of the words in the book that carries across the feelings, the ideas, the themes, and plots or whatever of a novel that someone else has written. My personal work is exclusively my own. It deals with themes that are entirely my own, and so there's a greater degree of personal involvement in the paintings. They're larger, and they mean a lot to me.
Now, rumor has it you get inspiration by reading the morning paper. Is that true?
Well, that's one right there.
Really?
Yeah. It's called War because I painted it after reading about the bombing in Sarajevo. It's a highly allegorical piece. It's a study for what I anticipate to be a very large painting on a very negative subject. But yeah, I have little sympathy with artists who can't seem to come up with ideas because I've got more ideas than I'll ever realize in visual form.
Did you ever think you'd be this successful?
No.
Why not?
Because I see a lot of excellent work wherever I go. There are artists everywhere doing things that I wish my art did and isn't doing yet. So I don't know why I'm winning, and I mean this honestly, I don't know why I win as many awards as I do because I see a lot of other excellent artists out there who I feel are just as good as I am or better.
Classic space sights and sounds to keep you company and save your screen. Next.
I am a HAL 9000 computer.
Meet Bob Fry, Product Development Manager for Sound Source Unlimited, the minds behind the hottest trend in computer accessories.
Audio and visual clips are entertainment software for Macintosh and IBM personal computers. They are fully licensed sound bytes and video bytes, if you will, that have been licensed from the major motion picture studios and TV studios. Primarily we focus on science fiction titles.
Captain's log, stardate 3113.7.
Having secured the rights to sci-fi giants like Star Trek and Star Wars, Sound Source has managed to bring a bit of Silicon Valley to Hollywood. And that comes as welcome news to those who find their computers somewhat less than user-friendly.
It personalizes your computer for you. Typically, computers are these quiet, impersonal, cold devices that we have in our lives. And the ability to put your favorite characters or your favorite musical clips or favorite sound effects on your computer to greet you in the morning or when you open a program up, it makes your computer more personal and almost human.
Computers make excellent and efficient servants.
If your boss doesn't give you enough grief a particular day, you might want to have this clip.
I don't give you enough information to think.
So now your computer can abuse you as well.
Though Sound Source has pretty much mastered the quality of their audio clips, the visual clips are in a constant state of improvement.
The technology that we use to make the movies is something called QuickTime that Apple Computer developed. And it's a very dynamic type of entity on the computer. It's a format for doing movies on the computer, and it's evolving very rapidly. We're seeing changes every 6 months. When QuickTime first came out, we had these little postage-size stamped movies, and now they're getting to be quarter screen.
Though full-screen visuals are only available in the professional domain, Bob Fry predicts they'll be on home computers in a few short years. The line between television and computers will become more blurred than ever.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too.
Can you believe it, Buzzers? We're bumped next week for Halloween. Only on the Sci-Fi Channel, I guess. But in 2 weeks, we'll buzz over to a vintage Hollywood poster auction where the world's most expensive poster was just sold. And behind the scenes of the making of RoboCop 3. The film has already opened in Japan and is a monster hit. Hey, look who's here. Sarah Rush and Lorette Spang, of course, two Battlestar babes. I shouldn't say babes.
Babes, I love it. You can call
Is that
us
all right?
babes. I like babes.
Oh, cool. So Sci-Fi Buzz is over now. What do you want to do? I mean, you want to hang out or?
How about going and kicking some style on butt?
Oh my goodness. Let's do it. Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
I'm Christopher Lee. Join me weekday evenings all through October as I host Mummy Week, Dracula Week, Frankenstein Week, and Wolfman Week. Classic Monsters Month, only on the Sci-Fi Channel.